Welcome back, everybody. Today I made a coffee IPA, or I should say, by the time it's done, I hope it's a coffee IPA. So let's go ahead and get into it. Grain bill. And again, like on all my videos, or all my recent ones, I will give you the percentage just because everybody's system is different. So if I said, hey, 8 pounds of 2-row, and you use that and your ABV didn't come out, well, that's because every system's different. So here we go. 2-row is 85.1. Flaked oats is 8.5. And Crystal 40L is 6.4. Now, this wasn't a big grain bill. I didn't want it to be because I wanted to see what the actual coffee beans did to the beer. Now, as you guys are watching the video, I did do this kind of different for the hop schedule that you will see when we get to it. So what Beersmith called for is 4.3 gallons of water for the mash in. Again, if you've watched any of my videos, I usually do 5, so that way I can use the temperature gauge on the pot to tell me when it's up to temperature. So I went ahead, I heated that up. What I do is once I get done milling the grains, I dump those in my mash tun. Then once the water is ready, I just go in through the ball valve in the mash tun to get my water in there. I do bring it up from the bottom, the water up from the bottom. Sometimes I do get dough balls, so you still want to make sure once all the water is in the mash tun, you do want to stir it to make sure you do get all those dough balls out. This one called for, if I can find it, a 152 rest for 60 minutes, so that's what I did. I was a little bit hot. It is a hot day, and as you guys did see from the milling of the grains, I did go ahead and use a drill. Most of the time I don't. I use my hand, but because it was so hot out, I didn't feel like sweating that much, so I did use a drill on this one. So once the hour was up, I did check it, and my end mash was at 152. Now my beginning mash was 153, so maybe I didn't stir it up as much as I thought I did to make sure that temperature was even. So we went down. Usually I stay the same, but we went down. So my first runnings, I started going, and maybe you guys have had this issue too. I think it's because I used a drill. I had a very hard time of getting a clear running, my first runnings clear. It was horrible. It took me, I think the pitcher that I fill up, I was at 6 or 7 and I was still getting stuff out. So I think because I used the drill, it is a lot faster than I can turn by hand. So it crushes it a little bit finer, and I'm getting finer pieces through there. So my first runnings came out to be 20 bricks. And what I did after it did start running pretty clear, I did put that in the pot, let my runnings go out, and then I proceeded to do the mash out. Now, the funny thing though, once I pulled I think it was 3.5 gallons out of the first runnings, I put my mash out water in after being heated up. When I started to pull my second runnings, it went clear faster. So I'm not sure what's going on. Usually when I do my runnings, I get, pretty clear liquid coming through there with 1 or 2 bowls full of liquid. So I don't know what was going on there. I don't know, like I said, if the drill is crushing them finer, so the first runnings going through, everything sitting there, and that's what I'm getting then in the mash out. If I'm getting less because most of that's on top, but I am stirring it. When I do put my mash out water in, I do disturb that grain bed, stir everything up, let it sit. But so I pulled my second runnings and it was 8 bricks. So I let that continue into the pot, and my pre-boil water level was 8. My pre-boil gravity was 11 bricks, or around 1045. Now, Beersmith calls for the pre-boil to be 1046, so I was pretty much right on with this. I think I did have a little bit left in the mash tun. Maybe I could have pulled that, but I think it would have dropped another percentage. Now, Beersmith wanted for my pre-boil volume at 6.73 gallons, and as you can see, my pre-boil water level is 8 gallons. So that's what I'm saying. Everybody's system is different. You have to, do some test batches to see what you do, because obviously Beersmith wanted 6.73 gallons pre-boil and I pull 8, and I was still only 1 point off. So make sure if you get new equipment or you're way off of whatever software you're using, make sure you do some batches to learn what your system is gonna do. So for the hops in this, we're going to do 1 ounce of Cascade at 20 minutes, 1 ounce of CITRA at 10 minutes, 1 ounce of Cascade at 5 minutes, and 1 ounce of CITRA at the end of the boil. Now, I didn't have any upfront hops. I didn't want the IBUs to be high. I wanted more of a fruity beer, because my thinking is that the coffee beans are gonna put the bitterness in there, and I didn't want to get it too bitter where adding the coffee beans would have taken it up. I thought the fruitiness would balance out the bitterness of the coffee beans. So after everything was done, obviously I transferred, and I do use, going back a little bit, so also before I get to a boil, I do use FERM cap, and I go by the label. I think it's 2 drops per gallon, and it does really help with boilovers. I haven't had one, knock on wood, but I do use it all the time. So after everything was done, I did shut everything off and I transferred it into the carboy. Now, because it's pretty much cool using that Therminator by the time it goes in there. I did do something a little bit different because I couldn't get to my local homebrew shop until that day. So for the yeast, I did make a starter, but I started it on that day. So that Saturday when I made it, I did start it then, so I did not pitch the yeast until that next day. Is that a big deal? No, I don't think it is. Should be fine. So for the dry hopping, once that yeast gets done working, doing everything, I took 2 ounces of coffee beans. I put them in a Ziploc bag. Now, for that Ziploc bag, I did take it and I did put it in Star Sand to make sure, it was clean. I put the coffee beans in there and then I hit them. I did not grind them. I wanted to break them up. From some of the stuff I've been reading over the years, it's better to break them than it is to grind them. Then once I broke them enough, or broke them to what I thought was right, I did put them in a mesh bag with some marbles and put them in there. Also, I did forget one dry hopping step. When I put the coffee beans in there, I thought that you were supposed to put an ounce of Cascade in there, and well, I looked around for it, I didn't have it. I thought I used it at the end of the boil. Well, I didn't, and I went back into Beersmith the day before I was going to keg it, and I saw that it was supposed to be CITRA. So if you make this, I would suggest putting the 1 ounce of CITRA in there and go from there. So my post water level was 6 gallons, which is good. That's what I wanted because of the dry hopping and stuff like that. My original gravity is 13 bricks, and my final gravity is 6.125 bricks, which brings us to a 5.75% ABV. Now, Beersmith calls for the post-boil post-boil gravity to be 1056. So we'll have to see exactly how this thing tastes when it's ready. It is in a keg now. It is getting ready. I probably will not taste it for about 2 weeks. I will take a sample of it and see how it's doing. I'm guessing because of the coffee beans, this is the first time I've used them. I'm thinking it needs time to age a little bit. So this might not be ready for 4 weeks. Who knows? But there it is. That's the brew day for my Coffee IPA. So until next time, happy brewing. Thank you for watching this video. Thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Leave me a comment down below to tell me what you thought about this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe and share, and hit that bell so you know when new videos are coming out. You can check out these videos over here. Also, head over to 31stbrewing.com for everything beer and home brewing related.